Buddhist monks don't clean their temples to make them look nice. They clean them to become someone different. There's a reason the most troubled minds find peace not in meditation first, but in a mop, a cloth, a single deliberate motion. Maybe you've tried thinking your way out of the fog, journaling, planning, waiting for clarity that never comes. What if the answer was never a thought at all? In the next few minutes, you'll discover why the simplest physical act can dissolve what no amount of reflection can touch. Let's begin. You know those mornings when getting out of bed just feels hard? Not because anything hurts, not because you're sick, just this heaviness sitting in your chest, and the blanket feels like the only safe place in the world. And when you finally do open your eyes, the first thing you see is the mess. A half-read book on the table, clothes left on the floor, dishes stacked up in the sink. You think I really should deal with that, but then you just lie back down. Here's something strange though. The state of a room and the state of your mind have a way of mirroring each other. When the room is cluttered, your head feels cluttered too. But sometimes, on a random impulse, you start cleaning. You wipe the window, you scrub the floor, fresh air comes in, and somehow, without quite knowing why, something in you feels lighter. That's not your imagination. Buddhism has understood why that happens for 2,500 years. Today I want to talk about something as ordinary as sweeping, and the surprisingly deep teaching hidden inside it. Wherever you are right now, whatever you're carrying, I hope this brings you just a little more light. One of the Buddha's most devoted attendants, Ananda, once asked about a monk named Kulapantaka, a man so forgetful he couldn't memorize a single verse after months of trying. The other monks laughed at him. Some suggested he simply go home. But the Buddha handed him a clean white cloth and said only this: rub it and watch what happens. And so Kulapantaka sat day after day, rubbing that cloth, and as the cloth slowly darkened with the dust from his hands, something in him began to see clearly for the first time. Let me tell you about a man named Kulapantaka. This was India, roughly 2,500 years ago, in the time of the Buddha. Kulapantaka had an older brother. His brother was brilliant, sharp, quick, the kind of student who absorbed every teaching effortlessly. He became a respected monk, admired by everyone around him. Kulapantaka was nothing like that. No matter what he was taught, it wouldn't stick. He spent months trying to learn a single verse and still couldn't hold on to it. The other monks tried to help him, patiently, kindly, but nothing worked. And then one day his own brother looked at him and said, "You're not cut out for this. Go home." Try to imagine that moment, being told you're not enough, by the one person you trusted most. Kulapantaka stood at the gate of the monastery, frozen. Tears ran down his face. I really am hopeless, he must have thought. That's when the Buddha came by. He saw this young man crying alone, and gently asked, "What's wrong?" Kulapantaka told him everything, that he couldn't learn, that his brother had given up on him. The Buddha looked at him quietly for a moment. Then he said, "Come with me." He placed a broom in Kulapantaka's hands and gave him 2 simple words to repeat: sweep away the dust, remove all impurity. That was it. Just those 2 phrases, over and over, while he swept. And so Kulapantaka swept. Every single day, he'd start chanting and lose track of the words, then start over from the beginning. It didn't matter. He kept moving the broom. Seasons passed, and then one morning as he was sweeping, something shifted. I'm sweeping away dust, he thought. But where is the real dust? The broom cleared the floor, but what about the dust inside him? The anger, the doubt, the hunger, the shame. How do you sweep that away? In that moment, a single shaft of light broke through. I wasn't only sweeping the floor. Kulapantaka awakened. The man everyone had written off, the slowest, the most forgetful, the one his own brother sent away, found his way to something real, with nothing but a broom and 2 short phrases. I love this story, partly because it quietly says, you don't have to be smart. And the Buddha himself shows us that, not with words, but through the life of one ordinary struggling man. Buddhist teaching traditionally rests on 3 pillars: ethical conduct, stillness of mind, and wisdom. These are the foundations of the path. But Kulapantaka couldn't memorize teachings. He couldn't grasp complex ideas. He was nowhere near those 3 pillars, at least not in any way anyone could see. What the Buddha gave him instead was simpler: use your body. Just keep moving. The 2 phrases, sweep away the dust, remove all impurity, carry 2 layers of meaning. On the surface, clean the floor, wash away the grime. But underneath, clear the dust from your mind, remove what muddies your heart. In Buddhism, these mental disturbances have a name: klesha, the afflictions, anger, envy, greed, pride, the quiet, corrosive voice that says you're not enough. These things settle into us slowly, like dust in a room no one's opened in weeks. That's the dust Kulapanthaka was really sweeping. And here's what strikes me most. He didn't figure this out first and then act. He acted first, and the understanding came later. We tend to do it backwards. We want to understand before we begin. Let me figure out the right approach. Let me feel ready. Let me find a method that fits me. But Kulapanthaka didn't understand the meaning of those phrases for a long time. He just kept sweeping. And the insight found him in the middle of the motion. Moving your body is a way of moving your mind. The Buddha knew this, and he chose his most struggling student to show the rest of us. There's a monk I once heard about who spent years trying to understand emptiness through texts, annotating sutras, debating concepts, filling notebooks. Then one winter, the monastery roof collapsed under snow, and for 3 weeks he did nothing but haul timber, mix mortar, and pass tools. Somewhere in that cold, repetitive work, something loosened in him that all the reading hadn't touched. He said afterward that he hadn't found anything new, only that the doing had worn a hole through the part of him that was always in the way. Let's bring this closer to home. We live in a time when information is everywhere. Open your phone and within seconds you have advice, inspiration, explanations for everything. There are more ways to work on yourself now than at any point in human history, and yet, more of us feel stuck than ever. Knowledge piles up, but the fog doesn't lift. You understand something intellectually, but your body hasn't caught up. You know what you should do, but you can't seem to actually do it. Sound familiar? Maybe that's a sign. Maybe what's needed isn't more understanding, but movement. Think about a time you were spinning in your head over a problem at work. Round and round, no answer coming. And then, almost by accident, you cleaned out a drawer, organized a shelf, and something in you loosened, and suddenly the answer was just there. That's not coincidence. Physical movement opens something up inside us. It creates space. Or those days when you have no energy, no motivation, nothing. You wait for the motivation to arrive so you can start moving, but it doesn't work that way. You move first, even just washing one cup, wiping one window, and then the motivation quietly follows. The action comes before the feeling, not after. Science has started to explain this. Movement triggers dopamine, serotonin, all sorts of things. But 2,500 years before any of that, the Buddha handed a broken young man a broom and showed us exactly the same truth. For parents who are exhausted, who feel like they're running on empty, try this with your children sometime. Wipe down the kitchen counter together, clean a window side by side. When you look at it and say, "We did that," something in the room changes, and something in you changes too. Cleaning is a bridge between the body and the heart. When you're turning a problem over and over in your head, when the heaviness won't lift, when you just can't find your way through, maybe start with a broom, the way Kulapanthaka did 2,500 years ago. Your hands might know something your mind doesn't yet. Just one thing to carry with you today. The next time that voice shows up, the one that says, "I can't do anything right," don't argue with it. Just set it gently to the side and pick up a broom. Kulapanthaka was the one nobody believed in. His own brother told him to leave, and yet he never let go of that broom, and he arrived somewhere no one expected. You don't need to be clever. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be willing to clear one small piece of dust, and trust that the motion itself has something to teach you. To everyone who stayed with this until the end, tonight, before you sleep, wipe down your table. Just once. That's enough. Nothing more complicated than that. Each small movement your hands make, a little light, somewhere inside you, quietly comes on. Thank you so much for being here today. May you carry that light gently, the way you'd carry a candle down a dark hallway. Not gripping it, not rushing, just letting it stay lit. Kulapanthaka didn't sweep his way to enlightenment all at once. He swept it one morning, and then the next, and then the one after that. That's the whole secret, right there in your hands.